Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to do a short row scarf or shawl, depending on how wide you make it, in owl eye stitch. And this is one of the ones I started. And I made a couple changes on what I saw on the needle knit patterns. And I did a search to see if anybody had done them in Loom knit, and a couple people have. The first one to ever convert it and do something would be Tina Edgar, and she's done that in garter stitch, and she has a pattern on Ravelry. And since I'm doing a video, I'll give you a link to her written pattern in garter so that you have a written pattern if you want that too, and then you'll have the owl eye short row in the video. Okay, now I didn't like the ones that I saw, most of the needle knitting ones and the loom knitting one I saw, because, and that's why I haven't done it earlier, because what they were doing was wherever they were doing that short row, it was kind of curving in, kind of bumpy. And I guess a lot of people like that look, but I don't. I wanted to have a straight edge with the zigzag. So I made a change so that my edges would be straighter. And so you can see that my edges are straight. They don't have that bumpy. They're straight. And so I made a change. And so what I did was I have 3 pegs marked here and 3 pegs marked here. So these pegs never get a short row, which enables their sides to be nice and straight. They're not part of the short row. And you still get the zigzagging effect coming down there, but you get the straight sides. So if you don't want to have the straight sides, then you just short row all of the pegs except for your end pegs. Okay? So that's one, the change I made, plus I changed the stitch. Doing it in owl eye. So here's how it looks in owl eye in a thick yarn. And this is, I love this chunky yarn. And the color of this is cedar, cinnamon cedar. So I love this chunky yarn. And it's Hobby Lobby yarn. And that's the color that I'm using right here. So I'm going to get you caught up to me, and I'm going to use another loom to show you how to get started. But what I'm using here is a 42 peg Cindy Wood loom, and it's 5/8 inch with a bulky yarn, and then I get a nice tight scarf like this. Okay, and I'm just going to put you on pause for a moment so I can get you the other one that I'm almost done with, and so you can see how it looks different with the different yarn. So just hold on a sec. Okay, so this is it here. Very eye-catching. And on this one, it's 5/8 inch too, but I only had 2 pegs I kept out of the mix, and it straightened it up a lot, but not perfect. There's a little bit of the bumping, but it did straighten it up quite a bit, almost as straight as the 3. And so after I did this one, I decided to use 3 on my next one. But this is what it looks like in this yarn, and I'm really happy with it. So this yarn is also bulky, but it's not as thick, and so you can see that the owl eye is a little bit looser. Still looks really, really nice. Right? The other side looks like that. Cast on looks like that. So I'm just going to put that one to the side, and the yarn I'm using for that one is King Cole Riot Chunky in the color Candy Floss. Okay. And I guess I told you everything about this one too. So I'm just going to get some yarn. I'll use the same yarn for the swatch for the demo I'm going to show you to get started and start doing this in the same yarn. Okay, so I'll get set up and we will start. Okay, so let's get started. This is a very little loom, so let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so we're just going to take the yarn and make it into a slip knot. and slip it on the first peg and tighten it. And what I'm going to do on this sample is only do 2 pegs at the end, but you should do 3 if you want to have it look like the sample piece I showed you. And on the sample piece I showed you, I believe I did 22 pegs, but 22, 24, something like that makes a nice size scarf. Do more than that if you want to make a shawl. Okay, so then once I've done that, I'm going to put my loom hook in right in here and then scoop up the yarn, and I'm going to do a crochet chain cast on. So I just take this loop and put it behind. You can drop this now, put it behind the peg, take the working yarn, put it through and snug it up. And you want this to stay tight, so you might want to pull that so that that peg doesn't get loose. And you go to the next one, snug it up, loop behind. You make the loop smaller or bigger if you need to. Snug it up. I'm going to go right to my last peg, and I'm going to put it on there, and I'm going to put the working yarn over it, and I'm just going to knit it off. Now, because I'm using owl eye, I don't have to do anything except go right into the stitch. Okay, so I'm going to go over the first 2 pegs. I'll try to get this better in here. Okay, and focusing a little more light. Okay, so then we just put the working yarn over these 2 pegs, and we're just going to knit them off. And then wherever we are, we're on peg 1, we're going to go over peg 1 and 2 and knit it off. And this is the stitch we'll be using all the way through, owl eye stitch. So on peg 1, we go over 1 and 2, knit it off. We're on peg 1, we go over 1 and 2, knit it off. We're on peg 1, over 1 and 2, and then knit. And we're going to do a couple rows of owl eye so we have a good base to start doing the pattern. Okay, so it's the same thing you do, however big you make it, except you want it straight, use about 3 pegs instead of 2. And then I'm just going to come back and do another row of owl eye. And you just do it nice and loose, because then it makes it really easy to knit. Your wrist won't get sore. And it'll be a lot more fun just knitting away and not struggling. So keep it nice and loose if you can. You can always, if you find you're going too tight, just pull on it so that this is looser. Okay, so now I've done another row. So now I'm going to start right into doing the scarf. So what we're going to do is we're going to knit all down, and this will always be the peg we start doing our short row on, because we're never going to do the marked pegs with the markers on. Okay, so I just knit down, just doing owl eye all the way down. We'll always be using owl eye as the stitch we use. Okay, and I come down, that's this one I'm going to short row, so I go over as if I'm going to owl eye it and put that on, and instead of knitting it, I pull it, not so tight I break the peg, but just tight enough that I'm going to have a nice short row there. Okay, and then you can pull it a bit, and then I just knit back, just like that. I'm just gonna correct that. That fell down, and there we go. Just knit back. Okay, and then we knit back, and this time we're going to do a short row. We're going to do is use the wrap and turn method. And we go down to the next peg that doesn't have 2 stitches on it already. Okay, we're going to come around and we're going to knit that one off, and we're just going to wrap and turn with this one. And that's all there is to it. And it's pretty easy. It's just doing short rows and then reversing direction. I could actually tell what the pattern is just by looking at it. So don't think to yourself, this is hard. It's really not. And now this is the one we're going to catch in, because see, we've got 2 loops on those ones. So we're going to come over, get this one off. This one's the wrap and turn. It doesn't get knit off. And then just knit it and come back over our pegs. Okay, then we come back again, and we always want to keep these ends nice and loose. Okay, and we come back, knit this one. This is our short row. It's our last short row because we never do the marked pegs. Okay, and we're going to knit it off. And then come back and knit it normally as an owl eye stitch. And then come back over. And now we're going to pick up this entire row. So we're just going to keep knitting all the way down to the end. And this will be our first zig looking thing in the short row scarf. That's all there is to it. Now we're just going to be changing the direction we go. So we're just knitting everything off all the way down. Coming back in the owl eye stitch. And now we're going to keep knitting this way all the way up to the first peg that's not the marked. Whoop, and see, I accidentally knit this, so all I have to do is take it off, put the loop back on that was on there, and short row it instead. So that's the first one in the short row now, is this one beside the 2 marked pegs. Okay, now we're just going to knit this all the way down. And come back. And we're going to do the next one. Okay, so this one has the 2 loops on it. Now we're going to do this one. So we're just going to pull it in the short row and knit it in an owl eye and come back. So it's pretty easy. You just keep doing the same thing. Doing the short row and then changing your direction when you've done them all. Knit back and change your direction. And look what I did again. I knit it by accident. So I just take that off, slip the loop back on, do it in the short row, and come back. I come back around, and now I'm going to pick up this last one. So knit this one off, short row, knit to the end. Okay, and so I'm completed the zig and the zag, and so I'm just going to come back now and knit it all the way to the end. And you just take over these two loops as one. Whoop. And if you ever find it hard to take them over, you can take them over. Whoopsie, this one fell off. If you ever find it hard, you can take them over one at a time like that. Okay? But it's my angle, and I kind of slipped. I have to try to keep this in view, and I'm not knitting in the way that's most comfortable for me. Okay. So here we are at the end of the row. Oop. Okay. So now what do? Well, we come back down, knit all the way down here, and we'll start doing this one here into the short row, the one beside the two marked pegs, and go back. So you can take a look at what we're doing, and it's all one color, so it's harder to see. But because we've done two, it's fairly straight. We've done the zig and we've done the zag. But it's hard to see them on here, but here you can see right here is where we switched direction. This was the first wedge and this was the second wedge. And if we just keep going, we're going to get that shape. So I'm going to do one more wedge, and then you should know how to do it. So now we're going to go this way. I have a hard time keeping this in the camera here. Okay, we're going to go this way. There. And we're going to do the short row right here. Come all the way back. And come back, and then we're going to pick up the next one in the short row. That's one right here. Pull it into the short row. And go up and pick the next one. I'm just going to put you on pause for a moment and see if I can straighten out what's happening with the camera here. Okay. I think I've got it. And then we're going to go back and pick up the next one. Short row. Only one more to pick up. Of course, there's a lot more when you do the right size scarf. This will be very narrow. So we get the right angle here. There we go. And we just pick up the last one. And we've done another short row. Then we just go back and pick up all the stitches and go the other direction. And now you can see that the scarf is getting more crooked. It's coming down like this. And that's because we got the zigzag happening, although you're not going to see it much on this sample piece because it's all the same color. So it's kind of important with these zigzag scarves to use a variegated yarn of some kind with a short color run so that you can see the zigging and the zagging. Okay, so I'll just put you on pause. We'll go back to the other piece. Okay, so here we are, and this is the same yarn, but because we did it so short, we only had this color. But now I have exactly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I did 21 pegs on this one, and so this is the width I have, which is a nice width for a scarf. But do a swatch so you can see with your color run how it's going to look. You want it to have enough that you see a nice big color play. Okay, so that's what this one looks like, and this is what it looks like on the back. You could use the back too. It's showing the zigzag, and I like owl eye on the back. Okay, so now you know how to do it. So you're just going to go back and forth doing the zigzag, and on here I have, like I say, the 3 end pegs. So when I'm doing the short row, you can see I've started the short row going this way, and I've got them here, and of course I never knit those. So I did those, right? And then I'm on my way back. So that's all there is to it, and you just keep going. Okay, so I'll catch up when I've got the scarf longer and I'm ready to bind off, and we'll see how my other one is. I'm just about ready to bind that one off too. So have fun. I hope you enjoy it. You see how easy it is, and I hope that you find some good colors. I've told you 2 kinds that work. But there's plenty out there with a nice short color run. Find colors you like. So we will see you in a bit when we get further along. Okay, so once you get the short row scarf long enough, and this sure turned out beautiful, this one. And then we're just going to bind it off. So to bind it off, you're going to pick up all the stitches at the end of your short row so that you have no short row stitches on here, and then you're going to do 1 row of owl eye. Okay, so then you're going to go back doing a row of owl eye, so nice and loose at the side, and you just do owl eye to the end of the row. And I'll just put you on pause because you don't need to watch me do owl eye all the way down to the end of the row. So I'll just put you on pause. Okay, so I've made it all the way back here. Now what we're going to do is bind off. This is fairly long, so I want to wrap it around 3 times around the loom. Okay, I come back here and then wrap it the 3rd time, and then I'm going to cut it. Just want to make sure it's long enough. Okay, so after I've done that, I'm just going to get a needle. I got one right here, and I'm going to thread the yarn in. There we go. Okay, we'll get started with the bind off. So we're just going to take the yarn here that's on peg 1, put it behind, and we're going to go down the first peg, which is the second peg here. So we go down it, making sure that we get the yarn all down. Okay, just like that. And then we're going to, whoop, there's my, there we go. Okay, then we're going to go up the peg before the one we just went down. So we're going to go up this peg and just keep it a bit snug. And then we're going to go behind the number 2 peg and go down to the 3rd peg. Then we're going to go up the peg that was just before. And then we go behind the peg we had done. We go down the new peg. We go up the peg before. And then we go around them. We go down the new peg. We go up the one before, behind, down the new peg, up the one before, behind, down the new peg, up the one before, and then behind, and then we're ready to go down the next peg. So I'm just going to put you on pause and get closer to the end of the row. Okay, so I'm about to go down the second last peg here from the end. I'm going down it, up the peg before, and around, and I'm going down the last peg here, up the one before, and around and down, and that's it. Okay, and so all we're going to do when I take this off is put it through to do a knot. So get the loom hook and you can start popping it off, and I'm just going to pop it off right here first because I want to do this loop. So I'm just going to take the working yarn and put it through here just to secure it. Whoop. This fuzzy yarn is giving me a bit of a problem. There we go. And then that will just secure it better. And then you'll just weave it in. Weave it in. Okay? That way it's just not going to come off. And I'll take it all off now. Looks funny when you first take it off. And there we go. It's all off the loom now. And now you're just going to pull it, and then it's going to look just like the cast on edge. See? And it's going to be nice and stretchy. And there you go. You can compare it with the cast on edge. And there you go. You've got your scarf here. It's pretty beautiful. And I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, bye.